Hello and welcome to One Cool Thing, PC Mag's streaming show here on Facebook.com. I'm Matthew Buzzy, this is Tom Brandt. We have one cool thing from the labs for you every day to show off. Today, as you can see, spoiler alert, it's a laptop. If you're watching along on Facebook now, you can leave a comment in the comment section of Social P to read it out. If you're watching later on YouTube, leave a like, leave a comment there. We can get back to you there too. But come join us live, 10 a.m. every day during the week. You can type away live with us, answer your questions about Tom's personal life.
Yes, please.
Maybe Tom's opinion on hardware, but mostly personal questions.
We review lots of laptops here, so if you want to ask us anything else, feel free. We won't respond.
Yeah, we won't.
Just kidding.
Never respond. Yeah, but fire your comments away about this, Tom, which is the Acer Aspire E15, and it is an editor's choice product, so it must be good.
It is, yeah. This is good. It is cheap though, and so this is actually the editor's choice for the best mid-range. I'm sorry, the best budget desktop replacement laptop, which is not a new thing. They've made large laptops for a decade or more.
Sure.
Well, more than decades. But this one gets an editor's choice because it has components and build quality that you'd expect from a much larger, much more expensive laptop.
Drum roll over. That's the punchline.
Yeah.
I mean, really, budget. You want bang for your buck, right? That's kind of the idea. Value. So what kind of, so you say desktop replacement, people,
yes.
I mean, that's fairly, some categories need a little explanation. That's fairly evident what you mean by a desktop replacement. Right. You don't want a desktop, you don't want a monitor. Rumor has it out there, some people don't like desktops or don't really know why people own them. So a laptop that can do what a desktop can do, and it's a low price. So what kind of components are we talking about? So
the most notable thing about this is not really, we'll talk about the stuff you care about, like how much storage and memory it has, but look at this right here. This is why, this is a hallmark of a desktop replacement laptop, is this little thing right here, which younger viewers might not know what it is. but most of you will recognize this as a tray loading DVD writer, which really comes in handy if you bought a bunch of blank DVDs 10 years ago and you still have them and you don't want to waste them.
To burn things onto them.
Because I mean, and people do that. So that's probably the most desktop thing about this laptop.
A relic of a bygone age.
Right, but let's talk about the stuff you actually care about. So we have a 15-inch full HD display. That's
what's the price on this to start?
Oh yeah, so $599,
wow,
right? Which $599. That's about we consider like the cutoff for cheap laptops to be somewhere around $500. So this is pushing the definition, our definition of cheap laptop. But this is kind of like, and this I said this in the review. This is kind of like supersizing a McDonald's meal. You get a lot more bang for your buck for that little extra because. This model has been an editor's choice for a while. You actually reviewed last year's one, and this one, and that last year's one was only $350. But for the additional money, you get a discrete graphics card and you get an SSD. Both of those things you'd expect to pay a lot more money for, and they make a huge difference.
That's $1,000 laptop fare right there.
That makes a huge difference in performance. So, but yeah, going back to the screen, it's a full HD display, which is great. You don't want to go any lower than full HD for a screen of this size, because then you'll be like looking at the actual pixels.
Yeah, and any less than 1080p these days is reserved for like $200, $300 laptops, like really, really cheap laptops. Yeah. So that's a pretty good get. Right. So,
oh yeah, do we have to take some first questions, I guess?
Can we put a M.2 SSD in there? Is there a connector for it?
So the M.2 connector is a relatively new thing where you can put a tiny hard drive. Basically, it's much smaller than hard drives of old. In order to do that, you have to open the case, which we did not do. I did not do that because it is a budget laptop. You can, however, open the case. I'm not sure exactly what the motherboard supports. I would be hesitant to say that there's an M.2 slot, but
if there is, might that be is that the type of SSD that's in there already? It might be occupied by one.
Right. So I actually don't know specifically the answer to that question, but I can tell you that this has a 256 gigabyte SSD, which is pretty good for a $599.
And is there a larger hard drive with it, or is it just the SSD?
No. Okay. So this model is not configurable. $599, you get the components that you get. However, we should mention that Acer has an entire matrix of cheap desktop budget replacement laptops.
They're they're
all very similar. And I just want
streamlined.
to do like a little NFL thing here to highlight what we have,
through this play.
which is this one. Okay, the 576G-5762.
You got all that?
Which comes with these components, and you'll see that it's very similar to the components in all the other ones. But if you wanted to have a bigger SSD or a much bigger spinning hard drive,
or an i7 processor,
as you see here, you can get a 1 terabyte hard drive. You can do that fairly easily without actually opening the case.
There are definitely options.
So,
they're all named very similar things, and they look similar at a glance.
We get tons of questions about this. When we give an editor's choice to a cheap laptop, especially from Acer, everyone wants to know the model that they found on Amazon. How does that relate to the model that we reviewed? What I would say to you, you get a tip for watching this. Just look at the specs. Just don't
try to
don't
find
worry
the same list of specs
about the numbers too much. They go in and out of stock on Amazon and other retailers. Just look at which components are in our review unit and which ones they have online.
Yeah, if you look up this laptop on Amazon any given day, you could get the first result could be this model or one of the other model numbers. They do sometimes list which model it is in like in the system information on the Amazon page, but yeah, the most reliable way, like Tom said, look at the specs. Be like, okay, this has an i3, this is an i5, like this has 3 gigs of RAM, this is 8, like whatever it is.
Or if you're in the store, they have a handy label here, which not many manufacturers do. It tells you the actual model numbers of all the components. So you see here that this has a Core i5 8th gen processor, and it's all listed right here. Yes.
So you mentioned discrete graphics.
Yes.
I imagine it's not something like a 1070 or 1080 in a $500 laptop.
Yes, so the laptop does not cost less than the graphics card. That's
probably
impossible.
good.
It would defy all sorts of economic laws, and probably physics laws too. Basically, what we have in here is an NVIDIA GeForce MX 150. It's a fairly common low-level discrete graphics card, and I want to say right off the bat, do not expect this to provide any sort of good gaming performance. It has 2 gigabytes of memory dedicated to the graphics card, and it's not a substitute for a high-end gaming card. You cannot play an intensive game at 4K resolution or even full HD resolution on maximum quality settings. What you can do, however, you get the difference between the card in this and the base integrated graphics is huge. It's orders of magnitude larger, like 5 times better frame rates and things like that. So if you are playing a casual game on low quality settings, the experience will be vastly better.
Okay, so it's like it makes some gaming possible, or less demanding games you can do at lower frame rates. Obviously, not high-end system level, like 60 frames.
This is not a gaming laptop.
It's not. But like you said, most laptops just don't even come with a graphics card.
Yeah.
It's whatever built into the CPU, which really can't do gaming, anything but the simplest games at all.
And the great thing about that, before we take another question, is Acer, unlike many other manufacturers, they actually put a little thing in the system tray, and it tells you which app is running on the integrated processor and which app is running on the GPU, which is very handy because you don't need to run Microsoft Word on the GPU. It will kill the battery.
Yeah, all that battery life.
And so that's...
Another question.
Person asking for a drop test. How well would it cope with that?
So let's talk about build quality.
Yeah, how does it feel?
let's skirt that issue.
It's all plastic. It feels,
we're
not going to throw it, we're not going to drop it. It feels sturdy. It's made of plastic.
Yeah.
Did you have
how does this compare to last year?
It feels similar. I think maybe a little, roughly the same, a little sturdier. It's plastic, but it doesn't feel like it's flimsy.
Yeah. So that's the main thing that I noticed about this. The reason why I like the build quality on this is there's very little flex in the keyboard, and the keys themselves are extremely sturdy. They're not a lot.
Oh, these are nice.
It's not like a Lenovo ThinkPad, which is kind of our favorite laptop keyboard, but there's almost no bounce here. It's very sturdy. The touchpad, unfortunately, is pretty weak.
Yeah, it feels a little clicky. It feels
It goes like you
it goes.
can see
It
about
bends in pretty far.
probably like 5 millimeters here. You're going 5 millimeters into the chassis when you click on it.
This feels budget. The rest.
Yeah,
feels
but
all right.
the rest is good. They have this nice brushed faux fabric top.
Oh, everyone loves the fake
Yeah,
brushed metal look. It's plastic, but
like,
it's made to look like it's
would you
aluminum.
I'd
rather
some
that
people
than-
might have it say, oh, this is tacky, but would you rather have just a boring black? It's
Gives a little style.
gives a
Also,
little style.
yeah, it looks a little nicer.
So we cannot drop it because it is not rugged. It will break.
Any laptop is subject to breaking unless they tell you otherwise.
Yeah, if you want a rugged laptop, you have to spend a lot more money. Let's take another question.
Did you mention ports yet?
We've not gotten to ports.
Other than the DVD drive.
Other than the all-important optical tray. There's just a USB over here, And then the headphone jack.
Yeah, so this
Power.
is USB 2.0 on this side. Plug your dongle for your wireless mouse into that.
But what do we got over here, Tom?
And then over here is where you want to plug in your hard drives. There's 2 USB 3 slots, and bonus here, a USB-C port.
That's nice on a budget laptop, for
Yeah,
sure.
there's no Thunderbolt support,
Sure.
but there is this USB-C port, which comes in very handy for the future. This will that's where we're kind of moving towards for USB. We're moving towards this smaller USB Type-C port. It's a great thing to have on a budget laptop.
Also, Ethernet, another nice touch for something that's cheap. VGA, because
VGA.
why not? And HDMI. It's got a pretty good complement for.
Yeah.
So like you said, this is kind of where it's paying off to pay that little extra if you're in the market for a budget laptop. If you wanted to spend maybe $400 and you can push it to a little more, you do get a lot more out of it for that. You also mentioned battery life as opposed to because of the graphics. How does it stack up?
They write right on the laptop, long battery life.
12. It says 12 hours. Did you find that to be true?
We don't trust what they write on the laptop though, other than the specs.
Right.
So we do our own testing. You can see all the numbers in the review at PCMag.com. What we found, though, however, largely corroborated this claim, which is that
the sticker was telling the truth.
I think it got actually like over 10 hours of battery life, which for a cheap machine of this size with a discrete graphics card is excellent.
Pretty good.
And that's largely, I think, because it not necessarily it has like an amazing capacious battery, but the Core i5 8th Gen CPU really goes a long way towards that battery efficiency.
Nice and efficient.
If you had to take this with you on the plane, which I hope you don't, you would get a full flight's worth of movies out of it.
Yeah, do you know how much it weighs, roughly?
Yeah, it's about 4 pounds.
Okay, so it's not too bad. It's not actually heavy, but it's not ultra portable.
It's good. I mean, if you bought one of these 10 years ago,
it's pretty slim.
It'd be like 8
also
pounds.
for like a laptop this size. Yeah, it's.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm starting to see why you gave an editor's choice, Tom. I think you're onto something here.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of ports. The build quality is good. The screen's good. Long battery life. Discrete graphics is like a pretty great little. Even if it's just a bit. Did it hit 30 frames?
Yeah,
Is that
on one of our tests, it hit 30 frames per second at medium image quality.
But that is at 720p also.
At 720p. It's not full HD. So there you see what I was talking about earlier. Basically, if you're willing to make those quality sacrifices, you can run a fairly this test is a fairly demanding test. But no integrated graphics card would come close to that.
Right.
You typically see about half that frame rate.
6, maybe 10 if they're
15,
really feeling lucky.
for on the medium quality test, you typically see like around 15, which is about and that 30 frames per second really is like kind of the minimum threshold. So this gets above that. Let's take another question.
How are the speakers?
How are the speakers?
The speakers are on the bottom. There's one right here.
Firing down.
You can actually see into the grill.
Oh, there's an SD card slot down here also.
And an SD card slot on the bottom. So they are fine, basically. They will produce audio and they will feed them into your ears.
Put that on the back of the box.
Feed the audio into your ears.
The speakers will make sound.
You definitely notice distortion and tinniness when you turn it all the way up. But
there's not a high-end Bose sound system in here for that price. I'm kind of surprised.
They're laptop speakers. That's all we have.
It's more surprising when laptop speakers are very good than when they're either like really bad or not. Fine. Well, usual level is they're fine. They're decent.
Yeah.
Often you get the tinniness if you really boom the speakers. It's like you wouldn't want to blast your music out of it as your primary machine.
Right.
Probably.
And they actually haven't changed that layout really from last year. The overall components with the speakers and things like that are very similar to what we have seen before from this. So there's nothing particularly new and exciting about it. I
think the most important thing on the sticker that we didn't touch on is, of course, that it's certified for Skype for Business. So thank God out there. I don't know what we would have done without that. That's probably
Skype
the only pro on your review.
It's weird because this is not a business machine.
But hey, everyone needs to do business somewhere.
It is certified for Skype for Business. I would say you could use Skype for personal with this webcam here, so works with both. Yeah, sorry, we got another question.
Another question.
If someone wanted to step up to something that had a 17-inch screen, because this is what, 15?
Yeah.
And they wanted something that was gaming capable, what would they get?
So
would it be in the Acer family still?
Yeah, so let's take a look over here back to their matrix. Get out of this.
The Acer matrix.
No, we don't want to save changes. And we'll go back here and you see...
The Predator line is Acer's gaming line. You're obviously... Before we even look at the page, going to be paying a good amount more.
I don't want to get lost in the matrix.
You might get lost. Yeah, you might never get it out.
They've had some decent budget level gaming laptops, the Aspire Nitro V series.
Yep.
But we tend to be more critical of gaming laptops, and they don't typically make the cut. Certainly not Editor's Choice.
Right.
Usually. But, yeah, for gaming, you want to look at our best gaming laptops.
Yeah, it's like you said, Acer does have some alternatives. The Nitro line's kind of the in-between, not super gaming specific line, but usually they do come with discrete graphics. Look into that. Yeah, the 17.
Yeah, there's a couple of nice Aspire V17. There's 17-inch. It's called V17 Nitro gaming laptops, which actually are some of them are around $1,000 or less. With typically like NVIDIA 1050 or 1060
yeah,
cards.
Which is certainly serviceable.
Bad.
I think you reviewed one, gave it like a 3.5.
Yeah,
Solid. Yeah, each manufacturer tends to have these budget level and then these sort of mid-range Occupy kind of do it all, and then the actual gaming series on the side. So depending on your budget, go poke around the site, get lost in the matrix. We have another question.
Just to sum up, who is this for? Who's the target consumer?
So it's for people. It's actually kind of a catch-all solution, right? If you have a desktop at home that you've had for like 10 years, and you don't want it, and you don't do that much stuff on it, you maybe type some emails, use it for surfing the web. You don't need that massive computer taking up your desk. You could easily go with one of these.
Maybe you don't even want the desk.
Yeah, right. And that's the thing. Yeah, you could be remodeling your den or something, and you just want a laptop that gives you more than a MacBook or a Chromebook in terms of screen size, but is not going to break the budget. So yeah, so people who are upgrading from a desktop, budget conscious people, you do not need a $2,000 laptop to surf the internet.
Yeah, I'd maybe get this for a kid. Maybe that doesn't seem like not like a small child, but like like a 10, 12-year-old. They need to do their homework. They need to surf the web.
Don't get this for a college student, right? Because they're needing to carry their laptops around.
Yeah, probably not the best solution, but
for an elementary or middle school kid who's not carrying their laptop around, this is good for them. And like I said at the beginning, if you have legacy components like a VGA monitor or you need to burn DVDs. This is a great choice for that.
Yeah, sort of as you said, a catch-all, all around, can do it all for a low price. Use 4 stars Editor's Choice?
It has 4 stars. There are obvious issues with it, one of which we should just briefly mention. I can spend a whole other show talking about this. Bloatware on this thing is noticeable. Windows 10 they've progressed much more in terms of getting rid of bloatware, but as you can see on here,
we have an
eBates. We have a link, and this actually was installed while I was reviewing it. It didn't actually come like this.
Interesting.
The Acer software updated it, installed this link to the cashback portal called eBates.
Booking.com.
You see a bunch of other links on here. So that is one of the most frequent complaints that we hear from readers when they buy an Editor's Choice budget laptop is that we bought this because of this amazing review, and then we see all this bloatware and it's slowing down the system. That is a hazard of one of these things. We can't stress that enough. If you
March of Empires, War of Lords, I assume it's just something you were playing. That wasn't bloatware. That's just Tom's favorite game.
I was playing that and I was waiting between each frame. I just sat there twiddling my thumbs.
Right.
So that's a caveat, and readers always complain about that, but you guys are watching this, and so you're more in the know than everyone else.
It's true.
We got one more.
One more is it upgradable at all after? Because it's just one configuration.
Yes. So you can open it. It's a budget laptop. I did not actually get at the components, but there are screws here. You can open it. You can actually see the motherboard through the grill. You can upgrade it if you want. I wouldn't expect much support.
I don't know how much
from Acer.
I don't know how much extra like open slots for really anything there are on this motherboard, but
it's not designed for that.
Right. If it is an M.2 SSD, you could. If it is one already in there, you could probably swap in a larger one if you want.
Yeah.
But we're not sure if that's an M.2 or not.
But what they do have, though, almost certainly in here is a 2.5-inch drive bay, because it's the same chassis as all these other ones on here, some of which have the 1 terabyte hard drive. So there's almost certainly a 2.5-inch drive bay.
Correct. That is a good observation. And that are all the questions we have, and that is all we have for you here today. Again, every day, 10 a.m. here. Here on Facebook, it'll be on YouTube later if you're watching there. Hello. But come back here at 10 a.m. every day. It's streaming, and you can catch us live and ask us questions live. Thank you so much for watching. Matthew Buzzy, this is Tom Brandt. Something cool will be here tomorrow for you. Peace out.